Last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder defeated the Los Angeles Lakers 131 to 108. This game was actually competitive in the first half. I remember even the first few minutes, this game was tied 10-10. And if you're a Lakers fan, you may have thought that you had a chance since your team was hanging in there. They were competitive. Even at halftime, the Lakers were up 59 to 57. But when I was watching this game in the first half, I really just felt that OKC was on cruise control, that they weren't playing at 100% intensity. They were just hanging in there, and they weren't really giving their all. They were just playing smart basketball, and that's something championship teams can get away with, especially if you're a current champion. You know when to flip it on like a switch. That's unfortunately a thing I've noticed from championship teams over the years, that you kind of know when to really give it your all and just step on the other team's throat and just completely take over, and when to just hang in there, not use up all your energy so you don't get tired out, and then just go for the kill. I felt that was really the case with OKC, that they were just playing smart, hanging in there while the Lakers were playing as great as they could play. And the fact that they were only up by like 2 points at halftime, I felt that really spelled a bad sign for them, that they were going to lose this game, because I felt the Lakers, with the way they were playing, they should have been up by like 10 or 20 points, but they weren't, especially with SGA struggling, not shooting well at all. For the game, he finished with 23 points, but he only shot 35% from the field. So usually when the team's superstar is playing terrible, shooting abysmal percentages, that increases your chances to win by a huge margin, that you should be able to get the game probably 90% of the time when they play that poorly. But in this case, the Lakers just couldn't capitalize. That was just a sign of bad things to come, that they were only up by two at halftime, with SGA playing a terrible game. And you just look at the stat line. The Lakers shot 47% overall from the field, 47 from three. And usually that gets you the win in the playoffs, especially when you shoot 47 from three. But the problem was OKC shot even better. They shot 56% overall from the field, 45% from three. And you're not going to win when your opponent shoots that well. The Lakers' defense was really non existent. That was one thing that really stood out to me in this game, that OKC could get whatever shot they wanted just by moving around the basketball. They could get a great shot for an open man, or an easy layup, or easy dunk. They were just very patient and methodical in their approach. And the Lakers really had no answer for that. They didn't know how to counter it or show any resistance on defense. They were just terrible. That's one thing that stood out to me. When I look at LeBron was really terrible in this game. I feel this is the game that should really make LeBron James think about retirement. The only reason he's still playing is because he can stat pad his stats during the regular season and make it look like to a lot of dumb casual NBA fans that he's still a great player, when he's not. He's getting a lot of these points through the game when it's not meaningful, when he stat pads. He's just trying to get his 20-point average, because I think LeBron knows that's the mark he has to hit for people to still think he's relevant. And he can get away with that during the regular season. But during the playoffs is when you really get exposed for being stat patter. We've seen some guys in the playoffs getting exposed for that stuff now, that their numbers are dropping down completely. Like, I look at a guy in Detroit, Jalen Duren. This guy was averaging nearly 20 a game during a regular season. Now he's just averaging like 9 to 11 points. So the playoffs really exposes how good you truly are. And LeBron, to me, is not even a legit all-star anymore. I think that's what it's exposing right now. He got away with playing a crappy Rockets team, which is why I felt that Udoka should have been fired, because he should have still been able to beat the Lakers without Kevin Durant, since the Lakers didn't have Luka and Austin for most of that series, and he failed miserably. I felt this team wasn't that good, and the Rockets just melted. But just going back to the game, this was a game where LeBron looked awful on both ends of the court. Normally, he's a traffic cone on defense since he can't play defense anymore. But on offense, he was just equally as bad. You look at his plus minus rating, -24, and that is about right. To me, that was, I'm looking at it, that was the worst plus and minus in the game. He was tied with Hachimura, which is funny, but that really shows you how bad he was to have the worst plus and minus rating because he was just the negative on both ends. On defense, OKC could attack him with any player that he was guarding. That player would score on him, no resistance. And then on the offensive end, he was getting turnovers. He had 3 turnovers, and he just shot poorly. 7 of 19 from the field. That is a terrible shooting percentage. That percentage is, let me just check it right now, 36%. You can't win when you shoot that bad, 36% from the field. And to me, there was one moment I felt early in the third quarter that really showed to me. Granted, I've been feeling like this way for a while, but maybe even casuals noticed that it's time for LeBron to retire. It really stood out to me was he drives down the court. I think he has a great opportunity to score in the paint. There's only, who was it? I think it was Hartenstein, I believe. Yeah, Hartenstein is in the paint, and he has an opportunity to go one-on-one with Hartenstein in the paint. He drives with his head down, and he gets into the paint, and he tries to elevate, but he can't go for a dunk. He can only go for a layup, and he misses the layup. That, like, I felt that was one sign he's old now, because in the past LeBron would have been able to elevate and just dunk it on Hardenstein, but he settled for a layup. Not even out of fear. I just think he didn't have the lift to go up there. That it just wasn't there. LeBron got frustrated and he missed. And then on the next possession, Lakers get the ball back. He drives down the court and sees again that he might have an opportunity to get a dunk or a layup in the paint. Drives. Chet Holmgren is there to contest him. He tries to drive by Holmgren and elevate. And again, he fails to elevate. He cannot go for a dunk, and he does like an air layup. He falls out of bounds and just misses completely, just terribly. And it was funny, after he missed, he was so emotional, sitting on the ground, yelling for a foul, while I think OKC got the ball and just ran up the court. To me, those plays really showed that he's old now. He was looking like a washed up player in this game. It's amazing, when you play a great team, that they really expose you whether you're still relevant or you're washed. And in this case, he looked washed. He was frustrated because I think even he had to accept in that moment, like, wow, I can't do what I used to do. I normally would have dunked on these two guys. And now I have to settle for layups, and I can't even get past them on that. Like, wow, I am old. But I think maybe LeBron probably would still be in denial. But I think at least for that one moment, he had to accept the reality of it. But I felt those two plays really showed that he's not young anymore. He's an old guy, and he should retire, but he probably won't since he's such a narcissist. But I think that really exposed him. Now, going back to the game, not only did OKC shoot a lot better than the Lakers, they also managed to not commit the ball over a lot of times. They only had 9 turnovers. The Lakers had 16 turnovers. They also, wow, it's even more embarrassing because the Lakers, from what I see right here, their total rebounds was only 23 rebounds through the game, while OKC had 31. So they out-rebounded the Lakers 31-23. They had less turnovers than the Lakers. Lakers had 16. They only had 9. So, yeah, when you out-rebound your opponent and you have less turnovers, that's usually a good sign that your chances of winning really increases. So OKC was great with the ball, while the Lakers just weren't good with it. And that's something I noticed OKC really capitalized in this game. They had like 12 steals. It's like whenever they needed an easy bucket, they could just force a turnover, get the easy fast break point, and just increase their margin. So that was a big deal in this game. And the other thing I think is very damning for the Lakers, they had complained about OKC getting a lot of bullshit fouls and getting free throws they didn't deserve. In this game, OKC didn't get many free throws. They only got 10 free throws, while the Lakers shot 25 free throws. So they had a 25-10 margin when it came to free throw attempts, and they still couldn't win. When you can't even beat OKC when they don't have the refs in their pocket, that's not a that's not a good sign. And get this, OKC got whistled for 22 fouls, while the Lakers only got 16. So they can't even cry about the refs costing them this game. To me, this is a very demoralizing loss. And when I look at OKC, they are a very dangerous team. They have a high chance of winning back to back. I think they'll be hard to stop right now because it's like, how do you defend their offense? It's so difficult the way they move the ball around. It's hard to stop them and just get them into a funk because they're just so good at moving the ball around with their offense, and they play really smart. They have high IQ players. I think it'll be very difficult to beat them. It'll be interesting to see who they play in the next series, whether it's the Spurs or the Wolves. I think if they play the Wolves, they're going to sweep them. I think they'll easily sweep them the way they're set up. Now, the Spurs have a chance at Victor. I know some people would assume that the Spurs would be the favorites to beat them in a 7-game series, but even though that they've done well during the regular season, playoffs are always different. That's one thing I would keep in mind. But I would say the Spurs have a chance while the Wolves don't. And it's going to be interesting who they play, because if they play the Wolves, they can go on a historical run where they have swept the whole entire Western Conference. That's only been done before, I believe, when the Warriors did it in 2017 it was, when they swept the whole entire Western Conference. And to me, that wasn't a great achievement in my eyes because they had a super team. They took out Kawhi in the Western Conference Finals, so I felt that wasn't worthy of my respect. It has an asterisk in my mind, but if OKC does it, it'll be a great accomplishment because no one would have been injured and they would have done it at full strength. Granted, I'm speculating no one would have been injured, but we'll see. But if it goes down the way I think it'll go down, if they play the Wolves, that's quite the accomplishment. And it gets scarier when you think about what happens in the finals, because I'm not sure anybody in the East can beat them. I think Knicks would have a chance. Detroit maybe, but they could go on like a 2001 Lakers run where they lose only like a game during the playoffs, or maybe they go, maybe they go undefeated. That's always a possibility. I hope not, because it makes things less entertaining when a team dominates that easily. I felt the 0-1 playoffs were really dull. Unless you were a Lakers fan, then you really enjoyed it. But if you weren't, it really, really sucked. I remember it that well. But right now, they're just playing. They're playing on fire. All their players are just on team fire at this moment. Excuse me. Excuse me again. I have allergies, if you're wondering. But yeah, their team is on team fire. It's insane. All the guys are peaking at the right time. So I don't know how do you stop them. Hopefully there's a way. I think NBA fans deserve to at least have one great series with the Thunder where they don't just easily sweep and dominate. But my final thoughts on the Lakers, I feel Game 4 on Monday night is going to be LeBron's last stand, at least with the Lakers. Excuse me. It's going to be his last stand, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes out. Does he go out swinging, or does he go out with a whimper and he just gets humiliated? So I look forward to seeing that, and it's going to be very interesting. Mark my words, Game 4 will be LeBron's last game as a Laker.